Welcome to this course, CSIT 3.0, the design project. Very soon, you'll be going out as graduates, IT graduates, with a degree in information technology. For you to actually graduate, you would have to undertake a project, and this course is to help you begin to think about your final project and do the necessary preparatory work for that. Additionally, you'll be going out in the world, and industry is more preoccupied with implementation of projects. Projects have become the lifeblood of many companies and firms that are engaged in the IT industry. It is therefore necessary for you to understand the methods and techniques used in project management early on. In this course, we are going to study those methods and techniques necessary for the successful implementation of industry-level projects. And these same methods and techniques would help you think through and carry out your final year project. So, on completion of this course, you should be able to demonstrate practical skills in the creation, design of IT projects. Why is software project management important? The UK government, for example, has spent a lot of money on the implementation of ICT projects. And it's a known fact that many of these projects, are not successful. In fact, only a third of the projects were successful. 82% of them, will be late, and then 43% of them would exceed the budget that was made for them. And this was by a report from the Standish Group. So projects are important because money is involved. The success of many companies relies on projects being implemented successfully. So we'll look at some of the reasons why projects fail. Now, some of the reasons are quite simple because many of you, once you know how to program, before you even understand the problem you're trying to solve, you begin to program. And of course, it's because you feel you're making progress once you are programming. But then, as problems get complex, this is not a good way of approaching it. Then you realize that all your programming effort just gets bogged down. So you might realize that when you begin programming too soon without actually thinking carefully through the whole problem, you end up writing good software that will solve the wrong problem. Other reasons why software projects fail is that we actually underestimate the amount of work that is involved. If you think about it, if you, from a distance, you think that the problem you want to solve is quite simple. You therefore commit to impossible deadlines. They ask you, when can you submit this project, or when can this be done? You say a week or in 2 weeks, when in actual fact, this might take about 6 months to do. So we are unrealistic about the amount of work involved in completing that project. So that is one of the other reasons why projects fail. It means that we need to have realistic understanding of how much work we need to do to complete the project. Another reason why projects fail is because mistakes happen quite early on, but then we don't realize this until very late. So in a project, we may be addressing the wrong needs. The requirements can specify incorrect behavior. The design and architecture, may be technically flawed. The plans we have in place to test the functionality, are not appropriate. And if you don't discover these problems early enough, then it will cause your project to fail. There are other reasons. Those who are actually responsible for developing the code do not think they are accountable for their work. Because in many instances, if you work in a big organization, the programmers are different from the systems analyst. It may not be the same person. So the programmers are just there, they bring them work and say, okay, you code this. And all they do is write the code without having a fuller picture of what that code is going to be doing in a bigger picture. At times, programmers also don't have good control of their source code. Someone writes a code, and then another person then has to take over that code, and it may be difficult for the person to understand because of poor annotation of that code. We know that when you write every code or every program, you must annotate it. You must have comments to go with it to enable others to understand the code later on. Programmers also don't test their code very well, which makes diagnosing the problem and fixing the bugs more expensive. And I have said already, a project team or the programmer may not have a good picture of the overall project goals, and this makes it quite difficult. Managers also try to test the quality into the software. Everyone will assume that those who are responsible for testing would find all the defects, that were incorporated into the project. And then in many instances, when those who are testing are trying to look for the defects, managers trying to beat the deadline feel that they are wasting time. And you can have a situation when you find defects, those who are responsible for programming think that they are being victimized, antagonized, and so on, and they are being criticized. And so it can be a difficult situation. And when those responsible for testing don't find the defects, people blame them for not doing their work well. So how do we make sure that projects succeed? One of the things to do is to ensure that all decisions are based on information that is openly shared. So there must be transparency within the organization. Everybody should know where to find information they are looking for. All the project documents, schedules, estimates, plans, and other work products should be shared with the entire team of managers, stakeholders, users, and anyone who is involved in the project in one way or the other. So if there are any major decisions, these decisions should be what? Explained well to all stakeholders and then supported. The other thing is to ensure that you actually know what expertise you have within the team. And the managers must trust their team members to be able to deliver. Managers must ensure that they simply just don't veto people's ideas, that they listen to people within their team and take their ideas on board. The fact that you are a manager doesn't mean that you are more qualified to make decisions than other people, or that you understand everything better than others. It's important that quality assurance is something that is implemented right from the beginning. So you need to review everything and test everything. You use your reviews to find defects, but you don't expect that your reviews will be perfect. You can also use reviews to gain a real commitment from the team. It's faster in the long run to hold a review than to skip it. So if you want to skip a review, you risk, losing a lot of important information. Now, as a project manager, it's important that you don't impose an artificial hierarchy on the team, on the project team. There's a popular saying that all software engineers were created equal. You shouldn't, as a manager, assume that programming is more difficult or technical than the design, testing, or requirements engineering. They are all equally important and difficult, and they must be done well. Programmers, as a manager, you shouldn't assume that the programmer is always right or the tester is always raising false alarms. You must verify everything. Remember, you must keep something always in mind, that the fastest way through the project is to what? Use good engineering practices. So as managers, you shouldn't cut important tasks, especially estimation, reviews, requirements gathering, and testing. Requirement gathering will be at the heart of your work you do. If you don't do this properly, you miss a lot of things, and you have to go back maybe to the scratch. And you also need to do your reviews in order to know where you are and where you are going. Your estimations must be what? On point. Now, actually, if it was actually faster to do your software without these things, then there wouldn't have been a need for them in the first place. Actually, all of these things help to save time. Now, if you try to cut any of these things out, it will cost you time and quality in the long run. What I need you to understand is what whole project management is about, what you need to do and know, and understand the subject matter of this course. The key topics I want to cover in this session are the aims and objectives, the learning outcome, and the learning outcomes. The course organization you find in your study guide, which you can read, and then the session overview are all in your study guide. They will explain to you precisely all the material that we're going to be covering in this course. There are a few important books that you need to use. The primary one is by Darren Dalcher and Lindsay Brody. The title is Successful IT Projects. There are other books by Hughes and Cotterill, Software Project Management, then by Schwalbe, An Introduction to Project Management. Then there's another one by Locke, Essentials of Project Management. And another important source of information is the PMBOK Guide. This is a Project Management Body of Knowledge Guide. This is a publication from the Project Management Institute, PMI. It's a useful book to use, a study guide. The material for that will be made available, a soft copy of that will be made available for you. So what are the aims and objectives? The general aims of this course are to allow you to prepare you to undertake a significant piece of individual work. Like I said earlier on, you will soon be going out as graduates of IT, information technology. To do this, you will need an essential requirement is for you to undertake an individual piece of work or final year project. Additionally, as you go out, you will now be entering the profession and you'll be required to take on responsibility for projects as a chair or you'll be working under people. So you need to understand project management skills or have project management skills. So this would help you to, one, the knowledge you gain will help you to undertake your own individual project, which will prepare you for industry. It will help you to develop an awareness of the need for project planning and management. And also, very importantly, to foster a professional attitude and the use of appropriate techniques and tools in management of IT projects. So upon successful completion of this course, you will be able to demonstrate competence in an ability to identify and investigate a topic, which is a computer-based solution, research the literature, evaluate possible solutions, and select the most appropriate solution. Explain the stages in the system development life cycle and the activities that are carried out to implement an IT project. So, what are some of the other objectives? Apply basic project planning techniques, demonstrate an understanding of steps needed to build and maintain effective development teams, explain the procedures needed to monitor, control, and report upon an IT development project, discuss and, where appropriate, apply the principles of project risk management, Explain the ways in which appropriate quality attributes of the products of an IT development project can be assessed and assured. So, there are a number of learning outcomes that we need to meet. There are 3 of them: the knowledge, skills, and other things. So, under knowledge, you should be able to identify and investigate a topic which has a computer-based solution. You need to be able to research the literature, evaluate possible solutions, and select the most appropriate solution. Explain the stages in the development life cycle and the activities that are carried out. Demonstrate an understanding of steps needed to build and maintain effective development teams. What skills would you be taking away? Apply basic project planning techniques. Investigate a problem and identify the needs of users of the computer-based solution. Produce a specification of the requirements. Identify milestones to provide project management. What competencies should you have? You should have the ability to explain procedures needed to monitor, control, and report upon IT development projects. Discuss and, where appropriate, apply the techniques, apply the principles of project risk management, and explain the ways in which appropriate quality attributes of the products of an IT development project can be assessed and assured. There are a few other competencies that you should be aware of, and they are outlined in the slides. The course organization, the details of session by session are in your study guide, so I urge you to look at that. But then there will be assessments, individual assignments, and then there will be deadlines, which you must adhere to, and there are penalties for not meeting these deadlines, which you must be aware of. So there will be individual assignments, and this can take the form of multiple choice questions, and this will go alongside the sessions, and they will carry about 10% of the marks. There will be work or presentations of work to solutions in class, and that will take another 10%. Then there will be a major assignment. There's a project that you undertake, which will be given to you at the beginning of the semester, and that is in the first session. Actually, these I'll outline to you in the following sessions, what you'll be expected to do. These which will be doing the preparatory work for your final year projects. That's identifying the problem, and writing, doing the requirement analysis for it. That will take 30%. And then you have a final written examination. Now, if you submit your work late, be ready for some penalties. If you are 1 day late, there will be 5% of your marks will be lost. Up to 1 week, 10%. If you're more than 1 week, but less than 2 weeks, 20%, and more than 2 weeks late, 25% of marks will be lost. So you should be aware of this. So that brings us to the end of this introductory section, and I'll see you in the next session.